Rev up your engines! Here's a reason why you might want to buy a used F-150 instead of a new $81,000 one. There's many reasons, including simpler, more reliable engine, no GDI, no turbos, simpler, more reliable transmission, not that insane 10-speed that's had all the problems, and it's two-wheel drive. Most people are fine with the V8 pickup that's rear-wheel drive. We don't go off-roading, hardly anybody does. These days they go on regular roads. So, did he get a good deal? He bought this a month ago? Well, it sure looks like a good deal as far as I can tell so far. We look under the hood. The main reason people want these are the V8 engines, right? This is a big V8 engine. It has normal fuel injections. It's not a gasoline direct injection. Automatic transmission that's very dependable. And even though, as you can see up here, it's a 5.4 liter. Yeah, sometimes spark plugs are kind of weak. So you put in the new spark plugs instead of the old design ones, right? Now he just bought this thing for $12,400 a month ago. You can see it's in excellent shape body-wise. Considering a new loaded one is $81,000. You're saving a lot of money. I mean, look, of course, it is in Tennessee, too. Okay, if this thing came from Buffalo, New York, where the owner came from, there probably wouldn't be much left but rust. And speaking of rust, if you're looking at a used one, that's the first thing you look at in one of these. If it's rusting, don't buy it. The later model ones have a lot more aluminum. This one doesn't have all the aluminum because it's an older one. If the frame is rusted, you don't buy one of these things unless it's dirt cheap and you use it for a hunting truck or something. But this one doesn't have any rust on it, so you don't have to worry about it. Unlike modern engines, everything is open to work on. It's very easy to work on these things. Yeah, sure. The seat's a little wrinkly, a few tears on the leather. Hey, I mean, you can get seat covers if you want. Cavernous back seat, they're huge inside. So, let's get on my computer and see what shape the rest of it's in. We're gonna do a diagnosis. 07 F-150, 5.4 liter, 3V, gasoline automatic. System scan. Went through a whole bunch of systems. Okay, those all look good. Okay, it's got 6 codes. A lot of them probably won't mean much, but the first one is the instrument cluster ignition key in circuit error. Okay, he's only got one key that works, and he did buy this used, so at some point in time, somebody put the wrong key in, and it remembers that, so we're gonna erase that. And we also have passenger airbag disableable warning light circuit fault. We really don't care about that either. Let's have a code for system 2 lean on bank 1, which may or may not be affecting how it runs, and one for the passenger airbag warning light. Well, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna erase them all, and then we're gonna look at live data. Start her up. And we'll go to live data stream, and we'll select all. See, it gives you the standard range, what it's running at. We'll see if anything looks odd. There's an awful lot of data on one of these machines, and we're only in the A's. The airflow trim, it's only subtracting 0.15 of 1%, and that's the max that it's done, so it's not off hardly at all. And here we have the airflow trim, it's only subtracting 0.02, which is hardly anything. So I'm assuming that's an old code before he bought the car, because if it was running lean, that thing would be adding all kinds of fuel instead of subtracting like 0.02%. So there's nothing wrong. And it's a perfect example of why codes often are meaningless piles of garbage, especially when you buy a used vehicle. Because when you buy a used vehicle, you don't know what the history is. And many times guys work on them, they don't reset codes, they just leave it going on. When you get into the actual solid data, you can see what shape the vehicle's in. We'll continue. We're in the B's now. It's all transmission data, that's all normal. Now this is a modern Ford, so it shows you we're just idling. It's only using 17% of the fuel pump. Rev it up a little. See how it starts to go up. Generator's going 33%. We're just idling after all. Voltage 14.29, that's fine. Now this is a flex fuel vehicle. The owner doesn't use the ethanol, the E85, and believe me, you don't want to. Why would you want to put in a fuel that has 20 to 25% less energy? You're going to get 20 to 25% worse gas mileage. And just do the math. Numero uno, it's not 25% cheaper. I looked the other day, there was like a 25-cent difference. One was 3 something and the other was $2.99. It wasn't all that different. So, on top of that, it's complex, how much alcohol's in the fuel, and it's got a set that it is a giant mess when they age. So, my advice, don't use ethanol in these things if you value your money and the long life of the vehicle. No, and I lived in Houston, that wasn't a problem because hardly anybody sold it. It was an oil state, right? Well, I'm in Tennessee, I noticed more, especially as I get into Indiana and Illinois, they got ethanol stations all over the place because the farmers love it. They're selling a lot of corn to turn into alcohol. But if you don't have to use it, don't use it. Your vehicle will be happy. You'll get better gas mileage, and there's less complexity. Those sensors eventually will break down. When they do, then it'll start running like crap, and your repair bills will go sky high because hardly anybody knows how to fix them. Fuel injectors, you can see all 8 of them, no errors. And here's the funny thing, check it out. The long-term fuel trim on both banks, that's subtracting a little bit of fuel, right? And that's normal for something that's got almost 100,000 miles on it. You can see it can be minus 35 to 35, it's minus 5 and minus 4, right? Well, if it's subtracting a small amount of fuel, that means it's running slightly rich. But it said it was running lean. So that code, we can forget that code. Somebody forgot to erase it. You get all kinds of information from this short-term fuel trim. It's a little bit off. 100,000 miles, that's normal. So it's in pretty good shape. Now, before we take it for a raw test, I'll give you one warning, okay? This has an aftermarket Chinese-made windshield, and it looks perfectly fine, but it whistles a little at them, okay? This is why the Chinese stuff, you never know, may or may not fix right, but realize one thing, these things are glued in. You can see, here's the check mark when they replace the windshield, right? They're glued in. If you ever have a windshield replaced, make sure you have it done by a pro. Now, I know there's services that say, we'll come to your home and office and change your windshield. My advice, don't use them. Have a guy with a real shop where he can clean it all off, do it correctly, make it all dry with a UV light when he's done. Don't just have somebody come to your house. Oh, it's so convenient. Well, then your car might be whistling Dixie for the rest of its life as the wind blows through it. Take your time picking a place to put a windshield on. You're better off with the regular business that does it all the time, that has it all set up, because replacing the windshield, the main thing is actually the preparation. It's actually very easy to put a windshield on a brand new vehicle because it's all virgin metal. They put the glue in, but when they take the other one out, they gotta cut it out. And they gotta cut it out just right, because if they have little bumps and stuff, guess what? The little bumps create noise when the wind blows through. So, replace the windshield, do a little research before you do it. Use some pro that has an actual shop where they do it all the time and have all the correct equipment. Not a guy who pulls up in a van that, well, maybe he didn't have the right equipment for that, or maybe it was too cold that day, but he did it anyway. So keep that in mind. And probably don't buy a Chinese-made one either. Now, he does have a new sound system, but it has a funny story. The backup camera didn't work with the original one, so he replaced this. But then the backup camera didn't work either. So I took it to the mechanic and the wire was loose. So although he might not have needed a new system, it's more modern. He said the sound's better, so you can always upgrade these things. There's millions of things that fit F-150s. So here we go. Look at that. You can't even feel the transmission shifting. And personally, I like the rear-wheel drive pickups better for one main reason. With four-wheel drive, they tend to handle a lot clunkier, and especially the Fords, I don't hear any worn bearings. So here we got on Tobacco Road, and the owner told me he found so many clunkers with high mileage, he was about ready to give up. But then he found this thing on Car Gurus and ended up buying it. We're out in the country where this truck belongs. Although there's no corn yet, they haven't planted it. All right, we look in the back. No one's going to rear end us because there's no one there. So here we go. Whee! Yes, I like trucks like this. The heck with traction control. Free the wheels. I hear the whistle. I realized we're only going 25 miles an hour. They did not put that windshield in right. So there we have it. This truck runs like a brand new truck, other than it's whistling Dixie to the windshield because somebody didn't put it in right or put the Chinese one that doesn't fit right. But it's a minor aggravation. It shifts like a dream. The engine still got all its power. He saved himself a ton of money buying this for $12,500. And as he said to me, he's almost as old as me. If you would have told somebody back in the day, I bought this 100,000-mile pickup truck for $12,500, they'd think you were insane. But today, if you were looking for a pickup truck like this and you found it, you'd be pretty much insane not to buy it if you wanted a big V8. Looks like it came off the showroom floor, really. It's been taken care of by the original owner. So you're sick of those expensive truck prices? There's plenty of used ones if you look around. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.